Hey guys, welcome to this episode. We have a very special guest, James Butts, formerly of CEP,
What's up?
still with CEP. Definitely want to just put this into the frame real quick. Got to play with him at ICC, but real quick, James, the typical way we start this off. Tell us how you're starting paintball. I know originally you're from the Carolina area, gridlock, trauma, and all that. So just kind of start with your paintball journey, and we'll see where it takes us.
Sure, I talk a lot, and I know we got a lot to talk about, so I'll try and keep it short and concise. And everybody's beginning story is kind of long, so I'll do my best. Started off honestly being scared of paintball. My dad got me a paintball gun in 8th grade because I told him, I came home one day and I was just like, yeah, everybody's kind of talking about paintball, blah blah blah, and he's like, man, that reminds me, like I played back in the 80s when we were living in when he was living in El Paso, Texas. I wasn't born at the time, and he just had like the best stories and how they played in the desert, and it was just really really raw paintball that that's all you could find in the 80s. There really wasn't fields or anything like as abundant as they are now. So I was really just intrigued by his stories. Like I said, I was a little bit scared. He bought me a paintball gun probably because he was more excited to potentially play a little bit. And I just was a little reluctant. Never been shot by a paintball before. Months and months and months and months went by. And finally my birthday came up. And like a lot of people, they kind of play paintball their first time, like at their own birthday or a birthday party. And that's kind of how they get into it. But after like being reluctant for a while and not knowing what to expect, all my friends who were still playing for a few months in 8th grade were just like, hey man, like we should play paintball for your birthday. And I was just like, it was easy for me to be like, yeah, let's do it. Just because I'd been waiting for such a long time, and it seemed like a really good excuse to finally freaking man up and go play, if you will, at the age of like 12 or 13 or whatever. Had a blast, man. It was a bunch of fun. Had a bunch of great like neighborhood friends and middle school friends that I played with. Then luckily, it's all just pure luck. There was a really great, incredible field down the street. So I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months down the road after playing, in the woods in the neighborhood, we're like, oh, like Paintball Central is a field. Never been there before, but it's only 25 minutes away from us in North Carolina in Greensboro. So we drove down there, had a blast, kind of met the initial, community there in open group, made a couple of friends, kept going a little bit more often. And then, like any hardcore avid paintball player, it just gets more and more often. Started playing in the CFOA in 2006, Carolina Field Owners Association, like not hyperball, but speedball at the time, and just had a blast. Ended up playing on a team called Raiden. After that, tried out for a team called Gridlock and made it in 2007. That's where I learned like the meat and potatoes of like how to train for paintball, how to win paintball, how to be a good teammate. To this day, professional or not, that's still the best organization I ever played on. Just extremely ahead of its time. And before I got it, they won a bunch of events and filtered up to trauma. So it was a really incredible experience there. I could talk about that forever. After Gridlock, kind of went on a little hiatus, missed paintball the whole time, just didn't play for a couple of years, and then kind of made my break back into it in 2009, which is so funny. That's so long ago. And just knew I really wanted to be happy and play paintball, and that brings me so much happiness. So after I kind of just jumped back in, was playing with a bunch of guys that are friends of mine from before and new friends in the North Carolina area. And this guy named Will Brown, who played professional CEP at the time, he was a really nice guy. He was playing really phenomenal when I jumped back in. He was just like, hey man, we're having Division II tryouts. It's all the way in Chattanooga, Tennessee, but we could carpool if you want. And it was kind of like right up my alley, especially like if I never stopped playing with Gridlock, if it didn't, the team just dissolved. I just knew I wanted to like be on a national team and try and work my way up. So I was just like, well, dang, I'm going to have to drive like 7+ hours to get to practice and then to get back home the same distance, but it's what I want to do. And just being young and early 20s before, it was just the perfect time to do it. So like I'll wrap this up. Played on CEP.
No, man, go on, man.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Played on CEP divisionally. There was a lot of talent at the tryouts. Had to step it up on day 2 on the Sunday to make sure I made it. Made the team, thankfully. Learned a lot there as well. A lot of great talent on the professional squad. So I just pretty much at that point saw a couple of like my teammates get cherry picked before me, and they were, every match getting 3-packs. Just we weren't necessarily winning matches in Division 2 because we were kind of a roster that was talented, but just I don't know. There's so many reasons you don't win, and we weren't really effing up too much, but it just wasn't getting put together. I think a lot of people just like wanted to make it to the pro squad and didn't necessarily do it the best way. So the ones that deserved it got picked up, and then the other ones it just wasn't a good like team camaraderie. It was a good atmosphere, but it just didn't equal winning. So my goal then was like, well, okay, if these guys are getting picked off of a losing team in Division 2, essentially, or a halfway okay team in Division 2, what are they doing? So I noticed that they're like getting 3-packs, 4-packs, balling out. So I was like, all right, that's what I need to like start doing on a matchly basis at the national events. So sure enough, like right as I started getting 3-packs and stuff, that's when they finally gave me the invitation. Like, hey, and I proved myself over time, but they're like, hey man, we want you to come join the professional team. What do you think about that? And, I did a big woohoo moment, like outside of my mom's house in my neighborhood. I was just so freaking pumped up, dude. It was a great, great day. I'll never forget it. Like the feeling of the weather outside and everything. And then I'd kind of made the decision on my own because of gridlock. Really, I was just like, if I want to do this, I got to be in Tennessee. I got to be able to practice every weekend. I can't do the 14 hours round trip and like be exhausted, and I got to find work there. And I did the traditional move, live, eat, sleep, breathe paintball. It was awesome. I loved it. I met my wife in Nashville, and then CEP playing pro is really expensive, especially trying to hang in there and not get smashed. And we did our best, but eventually the money from our own wallets ran out. And I was one of the few that still wanted to kind of go, but it just wasn't happening in Tennessee anymore. And then at the time, my growing up friends in North Carolina were about to step up to semi-pro on the Charlotte Bloodhounds. And then that's the team I joined at that point. And then we got like third our first event, fourth one after that, fifth one after that, sixth one after that, seventh one after that. So we progressively sucked one more place each time for our first season, but it was a great team, had a lot of talent on that. Just it didn't quite get together. Just got a little bit, further away from the end goal. And at that point, I'm like, I don't know, 25, and I just couldn't I couldn't afford, and I couldn't like both financially and like time wise, you do this, but you can't do that type of thing. So, yeah, definitely, decided that paintball wasn't for me anymore. And the Bloodhounds actually kicked me off too, which was a whole other story in its own.
What happened there, man? Who kicked you off? Name names, man. Why would they kick you off, man?
We called them
positivity, man. I feel like I don't know.
Oh, no.
Like you're a New Yorker at all. Like, what I'm trying to say? You're definitely the opposite of me.
And there's pros and cons to every paintball player. It doesn't matter like how cool or whatever you think they might be like talking to them, like, our relationship is. It was a team decision, and there was like a little bit of like different state of mind type of stuff between me and a couple of guys on the team. And I'm one to vocalize my opinions because I just think that's being the best possible teammate. And just the majority of the team, I guess, wasn't on board with like my way of thinking. And they ended up asking me to leave, which I was, I understood. I was upset about it for sure. But they ended up not doing too well in the remainder of their time as a team. And I think it's because they kind of kept doing what they were doing. And, I kind of was seeing it from a distance and vocalizing it. And that just ended up being that situation. And then my last endeavor was with the team NRG Elite. And at the time, they were I think a D3 or a D2 team, and they were wanting to play D1, played with them, and they just didn't do well in D1. And then they bumped back down to D2, I believe, and won the overall series. But they also kicked me off their team too. But that's the only time. I don't know, like maybe the way like I'm just so passionate about what I know and what I've been taught, especially from gridlock, and I've seen the top of the mountain or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I just tried to, be myself on that team too. And I think maybe it might have rubbed the coach the wrong way. But when they kicked me off, that's the only team that I was actually like paid to play on in my whole entire career. So when they kicked me off, I had nothing but respect for them. And my pretty much exact words to the owner of the team was, you've paid me to play this whole time. I haven't paid to play, so I don't have a foot to stand on to complain. Like, I just appreciate the opportunity. And that's the last paintball I played competitively. And man, that's kind of my story. Just been through the North Carolinas, Tennessee, did all the traveling across the country. I try to make friends with everybody. So I got a lot of acquaintances throughout the paintball community, but I've been undercover brother for, I think like 4 years now or more. So I'm just chilling now, but I still watch from afar, keep up with the scores at every event and see how my ex teams are doing or who's winning pro. And that's pretty much my spiel. I told you it'd take a while.
No, man, no, I definitely want to dig into some stuff a little bit more. We've run into each other a couple of times, back when when we ended up meeting that UWL or anything like that, because I didn't even know. They're like, oh, Nikki, because Nikki lived in New York, Long Island, he lived down the road from the field that we grew up at, Cousins and Coram. Like, he literally was down the road.
Yeah, imagine.
I know Nikki. Yeah, so I don't know. I just remember going to the field and I saw you and me being who I am. Like, I looked you up. I was like, oh, okay, he playing pro, all right. And then I remember, Josh Jew was there and he had a whole ghillie suit. And I was like, what are you, a fucking sniper? He's like, actually, oh shit. Because normally when you see dudes in a ghillie suit, you're like, oh, look at this fucking homo in a fucking ghillie suit or whatever. So he's like, no, actually I am. And I'm like, all right. So I'll be honest, I don't even know how you got picked up. I just all of a sudden you rolled up, Josh rolled up, you guys were like partying with Nikki or whatever. Like, I got 2 local guys or whatever. But I know
I can't really remember either. Yeah. I don't know how it happened. Where was that UWL again? It was closer to Tennessee, right? Yeah, that's what I think. It was in
Tennessee. Yeah. Bear Claw or something like that.
Yeah. That was a really fun event. It was great getting to meet you guys at that one. And I was kind of starstruck too, by Nicky Cuba at the time. Every paintball kid knows his name growing up, especially in our era. And I'm sure, like you said, he's a hometown guy. Man, it was just such a blast, that event. I remember, unfortunately we got second place, but it was really fun. We had a really great time. And Josh Jew, because he's full Jewish, is just what we call him. You get some funny looks at the paintball field when you yell like, yo, Jew, did you grab the pods? And someone's like, dude, what the hell is this? I'm about to beat this dude up. I'm Jewish, it's a funny situation with that. But yeah, UWO was a lot of fun. That was my first kind of scratching. Obviously woods are fun, but that was my first competitive in the woods experience. And I remember me and you, John, we were going for a flag or whatever, and I think I bunkered the guy at the flag and got the trade, and then you immediately got the flag that we needed right after that. And I was like, heck yeah, dude, that was some sick stuff. And I was like, this woods ball stuff is awesome, man. That was just like speedball.
No, man, it was a great time, and like you said, unfortunately we got second, and I know I was the one that took it the hardest, the most, because I knew who we were playing, and I was like, yo, man, our team's better. But I mean, there's just so many stories from that event. This dude Gator that was on the team, he pulled the flag the wrong color twice, bro, and I was flipping the fuck out. I'm like, dude, do you know the difference between red and blue, bro? He's like, I know the difference. I'm like, dude, no, you know, because he did it twice. And the one time, dude, Tom Cole, so the first time it happens, Trav, and then Tom Cole's like, yo, I'm gonna film this guy this time. People will see that he does it the right way. Do that again. Did it wrong again, dude. I don't know, man. I know that it was me and James on the one side. We had our shit on top. You know what I mean? Whatever they did on that other side, you know, we didn't lose because of us, dude.
Yeah,
and
the refs
one
are like,
time,
they're like, you would have won,
like,
but your dude hung the flag the wrong way. And we're like, what?
So
that probably happens to so many paintballers.
30 points to 100 points, you guys lost by 2 points. And I was like,
yeah.
What are you fucking talking about? But I mean, that's what you get for a little bit of throw together type of deal. But I mean, the other thing too that was good that I remember from that event was I was in like, there was the flag, I pulled it, and I was in this little like shit box pallet with like some little slits in it, and he's behind me, and I'm like in this ball, and I can't move, and they're just like shooting through it, and it's like, I'm like, yo, how much time? Like, it was literally like 30-minute games, and it was like 2 minutes. And I remember just hiding like this, like waiting, and people are shooting through this crack. And I'm like, yo, if this guy just aims a little bit lower, he's gonna get me. He had my back. He's like, dude, just don't move. I got over you. We held it down. I got shot, and I'm like, fuck. And then the horn blew, and I'm like, all right, word up. We won the game. We're good. And then again, we go to the bottom side, and they're like, nah, man, you did the flag the wrong color. So.
Oh, that's too funny, man. Yeah,
but
I forgot about that.
It was a good event, man. It was a good event. So growing up, so growing up,
we're good. We're good. I swear.
So growing up, you know, you said gridlock. So I mean, like you said, you know, moving out to Chattanooga and everything like that, Tennessee and everything like that, Nashville, kind of reminds me of that video where it's like trauma and they have everybody's in the house and there's like 9 dudes just sleeping on the couch or anything like that. So kind of going off that, who were those your guys like Rob Stottinger and all those dudes, Lucien Blackburn or whatever? Like, who was your role model?
The closest one to me and my favorite professional paintballer is Tyler Humphrey. Really got to know him as a young kid growing up and got to watch him play pretty often. He was always really just a great person, you know, with anybody at the paintball field, always had a really great attitude. And I'm sure he would say he was like wild and crazy because he was back in the day. A lot of them were. But he always took the time to be just a really great role model towards me. One of the coaches of the team is named Roy Sears, and he actually took a lot of time to coach us on Gridlock as the Division III team at the time. So I have to give a lot of credit to him too. Crazy good coach, crazy good inspiration type of coach. Kind of the couple of, I guess they're cheesy, but you know, the kind of the quotes that Trauma like preached and practiced really resonated in me as a kid and kind of gave me direction for how I wanted to live my life and, you know, how I wanted to dive into things. So the first one that always comes to mind is fight till you die. And that essentially just means, like, you know, it doesn't matter if it's a 1-on-5. It doesn't matter if you're struggling at your work. It doesn't matter if you're working overtime. It doesn't matter, you know, if you just took a big loss of a family member. It's just like, you know, you got to keep pushing till the very last second of your life. You got to keep pushing till the very last second of the game. If you're down playing a 2-on-3 and, you know, there's 45 seconds left, like, you better fight and, you know, be alive by the end of the game clock. So Tyler Humphrey was a really big inspiration. Roy Sears was a really big inspiration. I definitely am friends with Rob Stottinger. I'm friends with a lot of the guys. But in their heyday, I was, you know, 14, 15 years old. So they didn't spend too much time hanging out with, you know, kids of that age, unless you're like absolutely balling off the walls. So I was close to that point, I like to imagine. But no, they had bigger fish to fry. But the ones who took their time to really coach or inspire me or just talk to me. But I learned a lot just from watching those guys. Like I said, fight till you die. We used to do these things called means, which was what we did before practice. And not all paintballers like agree with this type of thing, but I do. We would work out for 30 minutes straight. It started off with like a 2 or 3 mile run sometimes, and it was like a full throttle run. And then the trick was, you know, people that are in shape would usually finish it pretty quickly, but there was a couple of big boys, like big back centers and stuff like that on the team, and like they weren't excused from doing it either. But in order to be a good team, no one finishes until everybody finishes. If you finish the 3 miles in 25 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever, by the time you made it to the end line, you had to jog in place until the slower people were back with their 3 miles. So it didn't matter, what, and you were encouraged to work out hard, but you had to wait to make sure everyone did it. And the only time you got a break was if someone was throwing up. And after the 3 mile run, we do push-ups, sit-ups, 6 inches, jumping jacks, up downs. And then the theory is that just like any other sport, you'll hear is get yourself really, really tired and then practice. So that way you can, I guess, build the stamina or build your mental game that you can go further than you thought. And some other teams I've been on, didn't do anything like that. They're like, yeah, we'll do drills for a little bit, but we really, really just need to play points. And I really think Gridlock had the system down pat and produced a lot of professionals and had a professional program above it. And to this day, I don't see a lot of teams doing that. I know individually you have like athletic freaks sometimes on paintball teams, but fight till you die. And the couple of guys on trauma really did have a big inspiration on me. I kind of forget about how big of an inspiration it is until I start talking about it, but it really helped shape who I am. And, I always try and push a little bit further when I'm tired because of probably those freaking workouts we used to do.
No, dude, that's great. Honestly, like kind of, thinking about it, like I kind of think on a similar way. We had we were gonna jump from like D4 to semi-pro, and I was like, yo, we need to run, we need to do all this stuff. And I mean, I feel like, we had Kyle Barry on the other day, and it's something where it's like you need to treat it professional at every level for it to become professional, the sport of paintball.
Yeah.
And I know he was kind of laughing. I think he was thinking of we had a bigger guy, Mark, on the team.
Because I was there. I was there. I was one of the dudes running. So
we're like, I'm having everybody running. We, big boy, 300 something, 350, pushing 4 maybe. And I'm like, dude, run. I'm like, we're running, like whatever. I'm like, no, up this hill, down this hill, or we're coming around, up the hill, down the hill, not in just the flat part. Like, I want to see you do it. He was throwing up. It was like I remember saying this. I was like, finally, we're actually doing something here. I was like, I'm like, we're not playing points. Points is dumb. Like, we're finally getting something accomplished here. I'm like, you want to play? I'm like, listen, man, you want to play D4 and you're 350. You know what I mean? Whatever, dude. That's your level. That's where you want to be. Don't tell me you want to be a professional and you're eating Doritos. Like, please, man.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Treat it like Kobe. Treat it like freaking Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? Treat it like Pele, man. Treat it as a sport, man. Make the free throws, make the freaking shots, and do what's needed. Even before you get to the field, too, man. I think that's a big thing, too, man. It's just like if you treat it like a professional, and I feel like that's where maybe you and the other teams that you've ever been on maybe don't kind of see eye to eye, is maybe the way they see it to be professional and the way you see it and what you need to put in doesn't always work out. And I feel like that's a lot with a lot of paintball teams is I feel like it's more like it's like a click thing too. It's like you got to find the people you mesh with too, man. I mean, like, listen, I've won on a throw together team, but I mean, that doesn't usually last long, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, it's just like a workplace. It's, and we all know the cheesy phrase of, if you're doing what you love, you're not working one day in your life. And it's so hard to find like the perfect job that you love, and it feels that way. And I don't think the majority of people ever find that, because there's so much variable. There's so many different personalities, so many vocal opinions. And it just kind of gets in the way of being highly productive. And I do agree with you that you got to treat it professional the whole entire way through. I think the sport could be so much more than what it is as far as like the professional level. I think And everybody's got an opinion like this. And the funny thing that always makes me laugh is like whenever someone does voice their opinion, the typical response you get back from the NXL is like, "Well, you're not in our position, man. You we do a lot. You don't know. You don't know what we do. You don't appreciate what we do." And it's like kind of a spin. I just wish every once in a while they'd be like, "Yeah, a bunch of these guys that are playing in our professional ranks are probably close to broke."
They're broke.
And
They're broke.
and it's not like they're running away making millions of dollars either, but I wish, and I don't know how because I haven't been in their position like they would say,
Right.
but I wish that over the freaking course of the paintball from the 80s that I've always told people I wish professional paintball players made $1 per elimination they got at a tournament, so that way when they go home and they've lost and they tell people I'm a professional paintball player because they're passionate about it. I mean, the first thought that someone has that doesn't play professional or doesn't play paintball, anything, they say, "Whoa, you get paid to play paintball?" And the typical response is, "No, like I don't." If they're being honest,
Right,
and a lot
right.
of them probably are dishonest at that time just so they don't look like a damn fool. But
Right.
They're not embarrassed.
I wish the NXL, because Lord knows they're making some money. I wish they would be like, hey, 50 cents per elimination. At the end of the day, with their stat people, you got a check cut. You're like, dude, I freaking, yeah, it's only $50, but at least like it's like one more step of validity towards these people who are dedicating their lives that you're using for marketing, that you're saying their name and they're not getting anything at all. Like we all know that there's a couple of professional paintball players or a half dozen or a dozen of them at most that are on the professional teams that are a quote unquote household name, or they have a rich enough owner that throws them a salary to play with them for a couple of years. But even then, I mean, they're
What,
given
20, 30, 40 grand most, bro?
yeah,
Even the
and
top
that
of the
might
top.
and as you notice, no one ever publicizes that stuff. I don't think it's like a conspiracy theory of that, but maybe it's because it's not enough money over the course of 3 years. Like Oliver Lang, when he went to Ironman
I remember
and
that.
got the big contract, I still think about that often. He's like, the main goal of this is to build a path for the future. But, no one else has disclosed, hey, I signed up for this much. There's only a couple of people. I think his intentions kind of were there, but then the delivery of the whole entire package, and it wasn't all on his shoulders, but it fell short because, you know, when I was a professional paintball player, I was proud of it. And I'd tell people like, yeah, I'm living in Nashville. I work at a smoothie shop and I play professional paintball. And one day it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks when this lady was like, so you get paid to play paintball? And I was like, well, no, not really, actually. And she's like, well, then that's not professional. Like that, the definition of professional is to get paid to do something that you're good at. And I was just like, dang, like,
Dude,
she's
you're a
right.
professional smoothie maker.
She's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So some lady who's never seen or heard of paintball before just freaking rocked my world.
Yeah.
And like, so like I tell people now is I used to play at the highest level at a fun hobby of mine. And it is kind of like a sport because you have to have athleticism and mental knowledge. But I'm like 50 or 60-40 on not really wanting to call it professional, but it is professional if you kind of understand after I just explained that.
Yeah, because people are getting paid. But I agree with you. Like, in any like other major sports, they disclose how much they get paid. Like, if I want to know how much Aaron Rodgers is getting paid, I could just go look it up.
Right.
So, as a quarterback, if I'm better than him, I could be like, listen, man, I deserve more money than him.
Yeah.
Or like, say, I'm going to use Ryan Moorhead. Say Ryan Moorhead's getting paid. Say I go to an event, I get more kills than him, and I'm a pro. I'm on Columbus LVL. I should be like, yo, I deserve money. I deserve more than him.
Right.
But
Well,
because nobody knows.
Yeah, and that's where my idea on like, I mean, super minimal, like 50 cents per elimination, $1 per elimination.
Yeah.
Even if you lose, you can say like, yeah, I do get paid to play paintball. Here's a $17 check from my last event. Like, or you don't even have to disclose the amount. You can just be like, I got paid to do something that I love by the series that uses me as advertising.
Right.
Yeah. because
Yo,
And you take a
it
picture
shouldn't
with that
be.
check, it's more advertising for them. You
It
know?
shouldn't just be the owners who have the pockets, who have the passion, that paintball's lucky that it's there. Paintball forever has been piggybacking off of this incredible passion of every player, because we all know it, like me not playing anymore. Like every weekend, I'm just like, dude, it's nice weather. It'd be sick to go play paintball this weekend. Like it is ridiculous the love that people have for this game. And again, like I said, if there was a fourth person in here that was a representative of the NXL, they'd be like, dude, you don't even know what you're talking about. Like, you don't know how much money we spend to run this thing. That's like their typical response. Like when you start bringing up money, they're like, well, you don't know what money we're doing. It's just like, yeah, I don't. But also $1 elimination, like just
there's a
something
little bit there, bro.
to
Yeah.
start in the right direction,
Mhm.
I don't ever think paintball will be mass scale, or I think it had its opportunity in the 2000s. And that's easy for me to say because I wasn't part of like the production or professional at the time, just a fan and a player. But I do think that, as I've told people that also play paintball who are just like, man, like it could be famous one day, it could be on TV. And it's like, that's me when I was 16. That's what I said. And I still believe it's a beautiful game, and the webcast is getting better and they have better angles, and it visually explains the game a little bit more. But paintball is different than other sports in the fact that, and I'm sure you guys know this, hockey, football, basketball, baseball, it's all centralized around the ball. Sure, there's a bunch of positions and a lot of moving parts that make the team game work, but there's one ball. In paintball, there's 10 variables in a typical 5-on-5 speedball game from the start. And the variables are constantly changing. The positions are changing. It's very hard to capture visually. They're doing a better job with like the zipline camera and stuff, and the more over the shoulder views. So you can actually see the shooter over the shoulder to the person getting hit. So that explains a little bit more. But one of the biggest like complaints, I guess, when I was really playing paintball and showing, everybody paintball as much as I could, they'd be like, why are they like running and sliding? Like, what's this buzzer that I keep hearing? Like in the mixtape I'd be showing them, they're like, what the heck is that? And I'd have to be like, oh yeah, like they don't know paintball, so they don't understand it the way I do when I see 2-second clips at a time of someone diving to snake. The next clip is someone getting bunked in the face. The next clip is someone hanging a flag. Someone who doesn't watch it's like, why?
It's like
Why
an
is he
overload.
doing
Overload. What
that?
just happened?
What's the flag? Why is that buzzer popping up so much? Why are they like going from a stop or a stopped motion to like sprinting? And it's just like, okay, because it's not visually well known enough of a sport, or consistent enough, or in the public eye enough to have like a footprint of like, this is how we play. So paintball, like I said, I think it's had an opportunity for a really long time, and it's getting better and better, and the webcast is great. But in my opinion, I think every webcast or every, I don't know, the webcast caters to only the paintball community. I wish there was something that was just like, hey, we're going to take this one really exciting match and we're going to tailor it up and release it on YouTube and try and push it to other, beginner eyes, people who don't know. And I think before the match starts, there needs to be a, hey, you're about to watch a paintball match. Here's how it works. Here's what to expect. 5 versus 5. They're all going to tag up on the start station. By the rules, they have to touch up their barrel. At the start, there'll be a buzzer that signifies go. One paintball equals an elimination. If you try and hide that elimination, you could potentially get a penalty that pulls you and your teammates out. Every time you eliminate all 5, or even while people are alive, there's a flag in the middle of the field that you need to eventually grab and put on their start station, or now there's a buzzer, I guess.
Right.
I just think there needs to be like a consistent teaching, like 1-minute introduction that gets put before a match that gets released. So that way people, because obviously, like I said, when I watch a mixtape, I understand it. I'm like, oh shit, like he just went to the snake. Like, dang, like that dude slid in beautifully, got his gun up immediately. Like, how baller is that dude? And then someone who doesn't know, it's like, what the heck is going on? Who are they shooting at? Because the camera's only filming from the side. Like, are they shooting? Like, so I think there needs to be a little bit more like consistency in how it's edited and produced on the professional level. So that way outside viewers can become a fan too.
No, I agree with what you said. I think it'd be awesome if they did a little 1 minute thing because so like on Fridays they normally stream it live on Twitch, so people can tune in and watch it, and it would be awesome. You're right. If they did a little minute thing like, hey, this is what paintball is. It's 5-on-5. 5 people start on each side. You know, the game ends when the buzzer is hit, whether everyone's dead or alive. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's got to be some teaching, you know. It can't just be me watching it with a couple of friends over having beers and they're like, yeah, this is pretty cool, but you know, I don't know what's going on. And then I have to like freaking talk for 5 minutes. It'd just be cool if they're like, hey, if you're just joining us, here's a quick recap on what's going on in the sport of paintball. And they've done things similar to that, and they could easily do it. Just in my head, because I used to film and edit a little bit, I always just thought you have to explain what's going on if you want someone new to understand what's going on. And if you want to quote unquote grow the sport, like everyone loves to say, you know, it's got to be across the board, able to like be understood a little bit more. But that was another eye-opening moment for me. Not only the lady who asked, you know, well, you're not professional if you don't get paid, but also when someone was like, why does that buzzer keep going off? Like, what is that? And I was just like, oh, aha. Like, I'm the only one here watching this that understands what's going on. They're just being polite and entertaining me, my friend. And, you know, like, they don't understand what's going on.
No, man. I mean, from what you were saying, the exact way you explain it, I mean, to me, that I'm a paintball junkie, nerd, content. Like, I've watched everything. I feel like that's what they did with that Smart Parts, or like they had one that like Too Extreme or something like that, where they explained it. Like I just remember Manny Marshall and like Bill Gardner before they had that thing, and like they had a Mohegan Sun or whatever. Like they explained it before the thing. So I'm sure, like knowing the industry, like, hey, sponsored by GI Sports. This is what paintball is. And if you want any more information, visit this page at GI Sports so we can sell you some GI paint and the Tippmann or whatever. You know, nothing against GI, but I feel like, I mean, that's what it would be, because like it's the same thing with like this. There's, you know, Paintball Strong now, which is like another GI movement or whatever. From what I know it's like Billy and all those dudes, but at the end of the day, the companies do what they got to do. But I just think that, like you said, it's something like a random kid doesn't know. And I think that's the other biggest thing. Like, you know, something that I'm kind of working on here is I'm going to do like a youth paintball camp where it's like taking a kid off the street via, you know, Facebook, Craigslist, whatever. Teach them, hey, this is how you hold the gun. Don't hold it like this. Don't freaking come out like, man, far out. Like, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. And that's really how you're going to build it, because I mean, you got to take it. I feel like back when I started playing, you know, I started in 05. I wasn't, you know, too crazy back in the day, but I felt like when I started, to take someone from point A to point Z or whatever, you know, there was a lot more people that had a lot more steps. And I felt like more people were getting converted. Like more people out of the birthday party were getting converted to playing recreationally. Whereas now, as I feel like kids don't even know, like I'm sure, you know, at the local field, and that's something more on the field owners thing, is that the kid knows paintball. You know, I go to Johnny's birthday party once a year. Like they don't know to go to the next step or anything like that. So as far as, you know, kind of growing the sport or anything like that, I feel that's where it should go. It should go down. You know what I mean? It's got to start at step one. You know what I mean? It's teaching. You know, in basketball, you know, there's a place for you to go and just play basketball or whatever. So why not take it as far as, I don't know, a kid goes to karate 2 times a month. Maybe they go play paintball 2 times a month. I don't know. I think that's a better way to grow it. So
yeah, I think summer day camps would be a really great idea to like get new people into it, and then they could play for like 3 days straight or something, and kind of maybe catch more of the bug that way too. But I agree with you that there needs to definitely be unique and interesting ways for, you know, not even just kids, but like new people to join and not feel like over intimidated or we all know it. Like you show up to the field new and you're like, oh, this dude's got matching uniforms. Like he must be awesome.
Yeah.
And
he's got a jersey with his name on it.
Right. And then in worst case scenario, that dude will be crappy at paintball, but he'll be vocalizing like he is the man and everybody's listening to him. And, you know, like everyone, you know, everyone thinks like it's that way or the highway, and it's like, no, it's not. It's like, just go out there and have fun. That's the first most important thing. Like, you got to find the fun in paintball. I'll never forget this one time I was at the field doing drills on my own, and there was a birthday party of like, I guess like minimum age, like 10-year-olds or 11-year-olds. They were young, a bunch of boys, and they were turning in their gear, and I was just grabbing air from the air station. So they were kind of right beside each other at Paintball Central. And I'm always just kind of on cloud nine when I'm playing paintball, just having so much fun. So I guess that's what makes me a little bit more vocal at the paintball field. And I was just like, so did you guys have fun? Because they're turning in their gear, and like 8 of them were like, yeah, like it was awesome. And I could easily tell, like, okay, great, they had a good time. And then one of them didn't say anything. And I was just like, well, what about you, man? Like, did you have a good time? And he's just like, he didn't really say no. So, you know, I'm in sales, so you're always asking questions. And I was just like, well, did you shoot anybody? And he's just like, no. And I was like, well, you're not done playing paintball yet, man. Here. And I pulled a pod and I filled up his hopper, and I said, don't turn it in yet. Like, let's run out here to this field. Like, and I just want you to light me up, dude. and you know, like, he shot me probably 6 times out of the 100 paintballs I gave him or whatever. But as soon as we were done, and we walked out of the field safely and everything, I was just like, so did you, like, was that fun? He was, you know, a kid. He was just like, yeah, that was awesome. And I was like, do you think you'll ever play paintball again? He's like, definitely. I mean, but if I didn't do that, and not to put myself on a high horse or anything, but like, if I didn't intervene, that kid might have been like, yeah, paintball, whatever. And who knows? He's probably not an avid paintball player, but at least his opinion is it was fun. And I think just trying to make the most out of your first touch on a person at a paintball field should be really important to paintball fields. I would love to own a paintball field one day, but you know, it's a crazy endeavor to go on. And but while I was in the game as much as I could, I tried to do things like that to, you know, who knows, maybe that kid's playing Division II or something right now. I don't know, but what I did know is that I wanted to at least make sure he left being like, yeah, paintball's cool, instead of going to school the next day and be like, yeah, dude, it sucked. You know, like it wasn't
Stupid,
fun.
Bro.
Yeah.
Let's go play Halo. Fuck this. Let's play Call of Duty. Or
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Not
Yeah, exactly.
Either, but,
no, of course
you
not.
know,
I play video games all the time. Yeah.
Tell about like, your headphones and his.
Yeah, Waldo gives me shit all the time for playing like rec play and stuff, but there's a bunch of times where like I'll go play rec with like a bunch of like the rentals and stuff. And when we're playing, I'll give the kid like my gun, even if it's only like a CVO, you know, a single trigger. I'll be like, yo, kid, come here. Yo, shoot this, because he'll be like, oh, I got this rental gun. And so I'm like, no, shoot my gun. Get this guy right here.
Yeah.
Just to make sure he has like a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, I want to go on the record. I don't give you shit about playing rec play. All right, I don't give you shit about playing rec play. What I do give you shit about is, like, you know, you could be drilling and stuff like that. When I say rec play, to me that's you bunkering little kids. If you give your kid a gun or whatever, that's something different. But you know, there's different levels to this game, man. I'm not saying you can't go out and play a couple points of rec ball, but I also would like you know, shooting targets and doing drills. You know what I mean? You know, there's an equal balance there, man. But,
that's right.
I like to give my kid a go. Also, if the other kid dies in the snake one, he's asking for it.
That's right, dude. For real.
I agree with that too. You know what I mean? There's that balance again, man. You know what I mean? I'm not, you know, I mean, listen, you've been coached by me, dude. You know, like, I'm not the one that's gonna be like, oh, good job, like, pat you on the back and be like, motherfucker, what are you fucking thinking, bro? What are you, stupid? Like, you're a fucking idiot, you know? And as time goes by and people are, you know, pussies, so to speak, you know, kids are less likely to deal with it, you know, you got to adjust your coaching style. But I mean, again, that's what it is. You know, I don't know where I was going with that. I kind of lost my train of thought, but I mean,
you're getting intense on it, though. We know that.
Like, I want this COVID thing, man. Like, I don't know. I haven't really been playing. I know you said you haven't been playing, but dude, this whole thing, like, and doing this podcast, like, makes me want to play now more. Like, this kind of going to the story. Like, when he was like, dude, you got to go to ICC. I'm like, I should have been going to ICC, and this will kind of, you know, go into your thing. But I was like, yeah, man, I'm gonna go. He's like, all right, like, let's hop in my. He's got this old, like, grandma wagon thing. The thing's got like It's like the Scooby Doo mobile. It's got like shag carpet, like captain's chairs.
It's
I'm like,
pimp.
dude, this is great. I'm down. Drive to Pittsburgh. Well, it was like an 8-hour drive, whatever. I wanted to play 5-man, but him and his brother are like, we're probably not going to have time or whatever. Do we get there? I'm like, bro, we could have played 5-man. I'm like, next year. That reminds me, I should probably go register a 5-man right now. So I'll get it done. But I just went to talk shit, to be honest with you. Like, like GZ and Massive Blasters had their issues. Like, they basically made, 2 teams out of the 100-man army. And I was like, I'm going to go. I'm going to talk shit. I'm going to watch old men fight in the woods, which I love doing. I'm like, because honestly, this is my favorite format. And so I'm there. I'm drinking that mango ICC beer. I'm chilling. I'm having a good time. I'm like, dude, this is like, to me, it's like Woodstock, dude. It was like I was like, this is sick. And then what made it even better, dude, is the next. And then I'm with them. They're playing on GZ. My boy ends up playing on Bad Company with Tom Cole. Like, okay, that shit's crazy, but whatever. And then I hop out of the van, and you're like, bro, we know you guys got 100,000 people here with Massive Blasters. I'm like, I'm not playing, but I just gave my gun away. But I'll meet you over there in a couple of minutes. I'll get some stuff. I grab his shit. I load up. Because all the good players, you don't have your own shit. You got to borrow it, right? So slap on that GZ gold hopper, that Massive Blasters gun, which I always tell people now because it happens at the field all the time. They're like, yeah, so you're on Massive Blasters. I'm like, bro, I'm my own entity. I'm like, listen, I got friends on both sides. Like, you know what I mean? But I'm my own person, man.
He wears the CEP jersey all the time instead.
Nice. Yeah. It's a good one to rep for sure.
Dude, yeah, man. Like I said, I showed in the beginning of the cast, like, I enjoyed it, man. I wish it had my name on it, but we could talk to. I think Matt was doing them or whatever. But
yeah.
No, man. I got the car, saw you guys. I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. I wish, to be honest, dude, those first couple points, man, I was trying not to be mad because like that's how I am, and I'm like, this isn't my team, dude. Like, chill out, dude. You're gonna get, don't get on these dudes. They're all Southern gentlemen type of dealio. And like, especially Rob was like, yo, we got to stop tying these games, and I'm like, all right, thank you. Somebody said it, man.
Yeah, no.
But it was a blast.
Yeah, we're just a bunch of retired paintballers at that point. I expect the guys to do better at ICC this year because a lot of them are really good at paintball. Just kind of, that was literally probably the first time playing in like 4 years for some of them. Yeah, ICC is awesome, dude. It's a great time. I'm not going to it this year as of right now. I might like last second change that just because
should.
Yeah, for sure. Just being a brand new dad, just not sure if it's gonna be in the cards this first year around or not. But
yeah, family first, man, for sure.
Oh yeah, especially with coronavirus. Who knows if things are gonna be eased up even at that time. Unless they find a cure.
Yeah, we were talking about that before you came in. That he's like, "Do you think ICC is going to happen?" I'm like, "God, I hope so. It better."
Yeah, for real. Yeah, I know everybody's hope is feeling the same way as you because it really is the most fun. So being a new dad and everything like that. Say that again, Waldo. Sorry.
Yeah. So. My bad, dude. So I know just because we had a couple people ask some questions and it kind of to what you said before. I know Ashley, my Bice, I don't know if I'm saying that, you probably are.
No, that's correct.
Said, how's it being a new dad? So I know you just kind of brought that up. Go on. How's it being a new dad, man?
It's incredible. I'm just so mind blown by the experience every day. My baby's being awesome. Like, thank goodness. She's healthy. She's sleeping. She's eating, using the bathroom, which is like the things you want out of a brand new baby. So she's being really, really good. My wife's being incredible. So they're both making the job a lot easier on me. I've always enjoyed family, my nieces, nephews. So now having my own child, it's just really, really great. I'll probably operate a lot of the ways in certain situations, like how I operated with paintball, and she's a girl, but I'm not really like gonna cut her any slack on like, I want her to be her own person and I want her to be into whatever she's into. And I won't be like a dictator parent or anything like that, but I want her to know, like, when you do something, you give it your all and then some. And you can do that with a couple of things or a few things. So I'm really excited to see what kind of person she turns out to be. I know I'm going to give her my absolute best every single moment that I can. And it's just kind of a trip, being the father of someone. So she's a month and a few days old, or she's a month and 4 days old now. And she's just being a little baby, but it's going to be interesting. I'm definitely trying to stay in shape so I can be faster than her for as long as possible. Or if she plays soccer or any sport, I can, potentially be a coach. And much like I told you guys, I was just thinking about it today. I went on a run before we did this podcast. I was like, even when I'm a soccer coach one day or a paintball coach one day or whatever coach, I'd like to coach any sport really. When I have, younger children or teenagers or whatever, if I expect them to do 3 miles before practice, I'm going to do the 3 miles with them. And, it doesn't matter if I'm like 40 something or what. Or if I can't run, I'm going to do some sort of workout until they're done, just because, you know, especially in team sports or team atmospheres type of thing, you have to be your best self, but you also have to be a really good teammate too. So I was just thinking about that earlier today. I was like, gosh, even if I'm a coach, like I better be in shape so that way I can, be like, look, I'm not just telling you guys with a big old beer belly, like run 3 miles, be in shape so you can be your best. Like I want you to know that I'm part of the team as well, and that I'm literally wanting to be in it, as invested in this as you all are. And kind of making sure I'm talking the talk and walking the walk. So I'm really excited to bring that mentality to all of my kids that I hopefully will have. But with number one, definitely don't want to be overbearing, but definitely want to be myself. And myself is, like I said, I got kicked off of 2 paintball teams for being myself. So there might be a little bit of friction with my kid, but I'm going to let her be herself first and foremost, but I'm hoping that I can be myself too, and the both will mesh together. And I know she's going to be something really great. I'm going to be proud, whatever. But I just can't wait to see, what kind of juice I can kick into her too, and what kind of mindset she'll have on life. And it's just a big mystery and constantly developing every day. So I love it, man. It's been so much fun. And like I said, my wife's doing an amazing job. Baby's doing an amazing job. So I just kind of get to be myself and be part of a good team right now.
Dude, that was great, man. You know what I mean, man? I got speechless right there, dude. That was awesome. That was great. Now I know most of your travels been, United States or anything like that. Did you ever play any Millenniums or anything like that, or any overseas events? Or?
No, I always wanted to, but I just didn't have the pockets to do it, honestly. Like I feel like you gotta have money, you gotta come from money, something to do that. I mean, it's definitely not cheap to first off fly to Europe, and then secondly, having communications with people to do it. I guess I maybe could have done it while I was on CEP and my name was a little bit more circulated around and people might have known me a little bit more. But at the time, because you're not a household name, I mean, unless you're a household name, you got to be paying to go do that. So I never got around to it. I always wanted to, because in my opinion, those events are so much cleaner and like at more beautiful sites, like they play with castles in the background. Like that's insane. Like, and Excel's like, we're playing in Chicago, and it's like in Joliet, and it's like nowhere near Chicago, and it's in cow pasture field, and you're just like, what the heck, dude? Like, so I always wanted to play Millennium, but never did.
That's like when they did Atlantic City, and I was like, all right, it's cool, it's close, but Atlantic City's like,
excuse me,
the ghetto Las Vegas, so like, forget that, bro. And then everybody was. I thought I felt like it was a good event, but like, mad people. I remember like Greg Pauly was going nuts. He was like, "We could have got stabbed 2 miles from our hotel room. Like this is a good spot."
Right.
And I'm like, dude. I mean, it's that. I'm sure NXL will tell you, because I was just listening to this. Like, I was listening actually. Like Lane Wright was on somebody's. I think it was Carl Markowski's podcast. He's like, yeah, I don't know what it is now, but we spent $6,000 a year on trash bags, just so people know we weren't making a lot of money or whatever. And I'm like, dude, but like you said, kind of going back to, and I forgot to even mention this. I know Kyle Barry said something like this. It's like whoever has the most kills, don't give them a barrel that they can't use because, you know, their sponsorship doesn't allow it or whatever. Like, give them a $500 check. Like, and he's like, and then the gameplay would even be better because people will be like, I want that $500 check. I'm going to try to make more moves or whatever, or like $500 for the best move of the event. To me, I'm going to risk more, you know, risk it for the biscuit, especially if I'm on a lower tier team. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
all right, we're getting blown out 6-0 by Russian Legion. I'm going to try some crazy shit. Then the fans are going to get more excited. Then I'm like, all right, cool. I'm not going home negative $2,000. I'm going home negative 1,500 because I got the $5,000
Right.
best move.
Yeah, you know, and it's kind of a credential you can use on your quote unquote paintball resume to be like, yeah, you know, I got the move of the blah blah blah, you know, like that says something about my gameplay. And that's kind of another thought that I always had, and I think one day it'll happen, maybe. I don't know, because paintball's pretty good at like keeping things the same. But I really think that there should be a players union consisting of professionals only, just because they're at the top tier and they're the ones that are getting used for the advertising the most. I feel like they need to have a little bit more say so in the rules of the game and the formats of the game and the colors of the paintballs. And just I do think that there needs to be a little bit more direction there. And what made me think of that is when you said, like, yeah, they might win the carbon golden barrel, but they might be discouraged to use it because their sponsors want them to use their barrels. At the end of the day, like, what's going to happen if that player is like, dude, I'm not shooting my sponsor barrel, I'm shooting this gold barrel? I mean, just a tap on the wrist. I mean, there's no hard repercussions that could be placed onto someone who's paying their own money. You know, when I played for Die, I never signed anything that said I had to do exactly as they say. So I don't imagine any players are, unless they're getting paid a salary by a sponsor. But the more you hear, and like I said, I'm not an expert. I don't know. They keep it hush hush. I don't think sponsors are paying these players like that. I think it's all from the impact owner, and like people like Ironman. You always hear that they are like in playing for Die. Like a lot of the Ironmen worked for Die, so there might be something in that contract because they have like a Monday through Friday salary that comes in, and it says like you can only wear Die, you know. But I just don't think that there should be that much regulation on the professionals. So back in the day, I always thought it should be spearheaded. Like Chris Paul, if you guys keep up with basketball at all, he's the president of the NBA Players Association, which isn't that new. But also keep in mind, NBA players make way more guaranteed money than professional football players. They might not make as much as baseball players, but they're not at the bottom of the barrel. And it's probably and it keeps going more and more and more higher because, like you said earlier, Travis, like they know, hey, this player gets paid this much and I just had a way better season than him. You know, I need to argue for myself to be in a better position. So I think there should be a players union of some sorts. They don't need to totally control everything, but, you know, at the bare necessity, my argument is if you say James Butt's got a 3-pack and then a month down the road, you turn that 30-second clip into content on Facebook and you roll that out once a year, and then you roll it out again during this coronavirus, so that way you can stay relevant. You know, there should be some sort of royalties. There should be some sort of professional atmosphere compensation. And I'm not saying $30, $40, $50,000 a year to every professional, because we all know that would be ridiculous. And like you said, Lane Wright would be like, or for people who don't know who that is, anybody who owns the league would be like, well, you don't know how much money we spend. And that's why I say I've heard that excuse so many times. I've actually talked to Lane Wright as a kid back in the day, because I posted something on Facebook that was just like, I can't believe the PSP is widening their dimensions and making the field longer. This might as well be NPPL. He got my number probably from Rob Stottinger because they did business together. And dude, I was just a kid at my house and I got a phone call from a random number, and Lane Wright was like, hey, yeah. He was like, this is Lane Wright. And I didn't know him in person, but I knew his name through Rob. And I was just like, hey, man, how's it going? He's like, well, I don't appreciate you talking like shit about my league on Facebook. And it's just like, dude, I'm like the smallest internet footprint ever. I can't believe you're calling me. And then I come to find out that he'd been doing that to a couple of other children or adults. I don't know, but I was a kid at the time, and someone else was like, yeah, he called me too, bitching me out about some stuff. And at that time, he was just like, I don't want to widen the fields. I want to keep X ball the way it is. But he's like, the tournament scene is struggling right now, and people who aren't winning the tournaments are telling me that they don't want to play anymore, and they're not playing anymore. So I have to do something to try and keep the money flowing. And I totally understood what he was saying. It's just like, yeah, if your clientele is getting tired of the way things are, you need to make adjustments to keep the money flowing in.
1 minute.
Oh, yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was, a very interesting insight into the upper echelon of the paintball brain as a kid. And he's not like one of the big decision makers anymore, but I know that things are still similar to the way they always have been. So that's why I say, if you put your feet in the ground and stamped a couple of times and knock some dust in the face of NXL, they'd just be like, you don't put in the work we do. Like, who are you to say that? And it's just like, I'm just freedom of speech and paintball patron. And, I'm just talking my mind. But that's kind of how a lot of things get kicked back when someone's like, we should do something. So I think if a paintball players union was around, and the Marcelo Margot and the Ryan Greenspan and the Moorhead and the best players around all kind of spearheaded it. And they're like, dude, you know what? We're tired of playing race 2. We want to go back to 13, 14 a second. And we want to play, a 10-minute half of X ball again.
Right.
This is getting old, and I'm giving my life to it. I feel like that would be a way that things could change, because right now the NXL already changes rules every single year, and we all jokingly around, not to slander them, and it's not that drastic, but the referees don't even know the rules sometimes, and it's just kind of a weird situation. And in multiple ways, I think that things could be sharper and it could be overall better for the sport. So I think a paintball players union, if you will, or a committee that could actually pull some weight would be a great idea. I think it will come eventually.
Yeah, I think it's tough. It's just tough. We all see that it needs to be different, but no one really has a finger on it. I was listening to another podcast with Tom on it, and something he was saying, it's like, here's another thing people don't think about is that I have refs, and when they come back a certain amount of times, I have to give them a raise. That's what I've done. He's like, I'm at the point where some of these people have worked for me for years, and he's like, a lot of them make the max. He's like, they're not making $125. A lot of the refs are making $200 a day because they've worked for me for so long. And it's just, yeah, I think it's tough.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, there's definitely 3 sides of the argument for sure. But I think that the argument from the player or people like us should be in the decision making as well. But then like you hear is like, well, it's a business. You can't tell businesses how to run. And it's just like, I can't, but if there's enough of us clients who are pissed off or upset with how business is being ran, and right now we can't run to anything else besides NXL, there needs to be a medium kind of battleground, I guess, where, and like I said, I don't think that would come from Division 4 players being like, we're not going to play. I think it would come from professionals being like, look, we obviously love what we do. Let's make these tweaks this year. So I don't know. It's just like you said, a lot of people don't think about what goes into it. Some people do. Some people get run off the sport. And in the same token as the referees, we all know for World Cup in particular, they usually hire people from Guatemala to come ref the Division 3 field. And then all of a sudden, in this example, which I know I'm just running down a little rabbit hole, but I've seen it before. There's a grown-ass man whose child is playing on a Division 3 team, and the dad doesn't understand paintball, but he's just a supportive father who might have a wealthy enough of a pocket to float this team, and that's why he's there. He's not just sending his kid. And I saw it one time. The dad was like extremely flabbergasted at a call because he doesn't understand paintball, but it was a call that sent his kids home on like the first round of Sunday. And I was standing there watching, and I just noticed his frustration, not only in the call, but even deeper, not understanding the call. And I said to myself, I tried to say like, well, more than likely, this is why that call was occurred. But the best way to know is just by asking the ref. You really need to be on the staff to bother a ref after everything's said and done. And just so you know, referee calls never get turned around.
In
and
any sport.
and that dad was like, well, I'm not going to keep spending my money if this is going to be the case. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, that dad could be a millionaire and could be the next Edmonton Impact funding type of person, but you potentially ran him off because you hired some brand new ref who only plays D6 and has no clue, how to make a heads up call that fast, or doesn't have referee camaraderie with the guy beside him because they're brand new. They don't know each other. So there's so many variables in paintball, and we all know that the ref call's got to go your way. And then some people will be tough and they'll say, well, why do you even leave it up to the ref? Why don't you just shoot a bunch of people off the break? And it's like, look, that excuse is valid because sometimes you're that good of a team where you don't need to leave it up to the refs. But a lot of people don't realize, like, once you get into professional, like, there's differences between teams, obviously, like the good and the bad, but individual skill, a lot of people can shoot people off the break. So luckily in professional also, they have the best refs possible. So there's not that much of a problem. But as you trickle down in the divisions, it's just kind of, we need to staff them. We need to put them in place. And, when someone complains, we all know, I mean, I've been there before, they don't have the ability to analyze a call and turn it the other way. There's no challenge flag or anything. So what that D6 paintball player calls on a D4 or D3 field is going to stand because they don't want to slow down the day, and they don't want to turn it around, and they don't want to start a wave of that happening. I always thought they should just put at least for one aspect of referee calls, they should put a GoPro or a camera at the start station for buzzer beaters. So that way, if it's an intense game, or Sunday only field always has cameras on it. So that way, if someone slaps it, but the millisecond before he was shot, they can actually make that call. Yeah. I mean, in basketball, I watch a lot of basketball, huge Lakers fan. Anything that's somewhat questionable underneath 2 minutes, they don't even do it the whole game, just the final 2 minutes. If it's questionable without anybody's permission, the refs automatically go to the review booth, just like in football. Under a certain time, it's always reviewed.
Mm-hmm. It's about getting the right call, and that's what matters.
Mm-hmm. But I swear, it's not always about getting the right call, especially in the lower divisions. And they do a better job now of like kind of going through the footage, and like especially during this coronavirus, I've seen Ghost Sports do a lot more of like did he make it clean? And it's like, dude, I'm sure the losing team begged you to do this coverage at that time. Like they're like, there's cameras, like where, like how can we not run this back? Yeah. And it all kind of wraps up my mindset. It's just like, one, that team might have got robbed because it was so close of a call. 2, there's cameras, but there was no replay. 3, the call had no chance of getting turned around and the point replayed. And then 4, this dude's being used on social media for the second or third time, and this time it's just like, was it close? What do you think? Comment below. And that paintball player's not getting paid anything, and that loss might have been what put them out of the professional season because they were fighting to win that last match of World Cup. Like it's crazy, like how many things I think should be cleaner and operating a little bit more smooth, for the sake of the player and for the sake of, just having because no sport's perfect. Calls are messed up all the time, but every other sport has video review these days. It's it's long overdue for final
The
points.
technology's
Sunday.
there, dude.
Yeah, it's there. It's definitely there.
And calls are going to be missed. I mean, you look at the Saints.
Yeah.
Like my mom's a Saints fan, and she still talks about that pass interference. She probably will
Yeah.
talk about it until the day she dies. So things are still going to get missed, but we can make it could be better. It could be better.
Totally. So, when I was younger, I forget his name, one of the Blonsky brothers who was really famous for playing on the Russian Legion when in PB Nation was much more of a everyday check-in outlet rather than Facebook for paintball news. I think it was Matt Blonsky when he retired. I remember his swan song of like 4 or 5 paragraphs that he wrote about like what the game meant to him, how he was thankful, how it was his time to leave. His like departing words in the whole thing were, my goal the whole time was kind of to see this sport grow into what I believed it could. It never quite got there. I hope that one day it does. I think that was a very political, correct way to say kind of how I'm talking about the game right now. But I've been gone for such a long time. I almost got kicked out of the NXL one time by Tom Cole for wanting to get explanation on a call for a team that I was coaching. And instead of them giving me explanation, they were just like, look, man, the call's the call. You either ride with it, or if you keep asking to get an answer, we'll kick you out of the NXL. Like, it's up to you. And I cried that day. I'm not afraid to admit it. I freaking love paintball, dude. And at that day, a little bit of my heart broke for paintball because I was just like, dude, I've given my life to it up to this point. I've spent multiple $10, $20, $30,000 into this game. And as I told them that day, I was just like, look, take it out of paintball. Let's say you're a plumbing company and I'm a homeowner and I hire you to get the job done. And a day later, my pipe burst. I'm going to call the plumbing company and I'm going to let them know my complaint that there's a problem. And I'm probably going to be realistic. And I'm going to say, look, I'm a homeowner. I just need to understand why this broke again. If it's something outside of what you fixed and it's another problem I had, I'll pay you again to come out here. But if it's shoddy work, I expect your company to care about its image and to fix the problem. And I was just like, all I need is you to tell me why these 2 players that were that the referee near me at this coaching dead box or at the coaching pit area told me, hey, dude, James, I will vouch for your 2 guys being alive. And then the end of the game was there. And I was just like, whoa, why is it being called the end of the game? Hey, ref, these 2 guys are alive. Like, they are not shot. Their barrel tags aren't on. Like, you got me that they're alive. And he's like, yep. And then they went to a referee meeting and they came back and they said that my team had lost and the other team had advanced on Sunday. And my first thing was, obviously, I know refs. I was just like, be polite, work it.
Don't motherfuck them.
Yeah. So I was just like, hey, that I don't know his name, but that gentleman over there was like the closest ref to me and my 2 players. And, they don't have a shot on them. They didn't put their barrel bags on. And I got verbal confirmation from this gentleman that was the case. And, he, kind of was sticking back in the group and wasn't necessarily being like, yeah, I told him that. And then, they got the head ref to be like, like the call, it is what it is. And I was like, well, hey, I want to talk to like your boss, because this isn't right. And I just need explanation on why it got 180 switched. And you guys aren't giving me explanation. So then they called over one of the guys underneath Tom Cole and he gave me the same thing. He's like, look, it is what it is. And I was like, look, I'm a paying customer. I just want to have some explanation to tell these guys why they're going home on Sunday when we thought we should have been going forward. Just something to tell them instead of I don't know. And then at that point, I kind of was getting a little upset with them. I was like, you guys literally are some of the worst refs that I've ever been around. And that's crazy, but sure. And I'm not yelling at this point, but I'm like, surely. And I'm a very polite person, but when I get upset, like, I hit someone right in their kidneys verbally. I'm just like, look, you guys aren't the best. And this guy told me this, and you're supposed to be his head ref. Like, why can't we just have a conversation? Why is he hiding in the back? Like, clearly something's wrong. And then they brought the guy underneath Tom Cole. He couldn't quite give me an explanation either. And I was like, look, dude, we paid thousands. We paid thousands to be here. I just need an explanation. And then Tom Cole came over and, had a one-on-one with me because he knew me. And he's just like, look, man, the call's the call. you get on board with it, or you're not allowed to play NXL. We'll, ban you from playing it. And at the time, like I said, they play on the heartstrings and the passion of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I literally put my head down, cried, was tore up about it. But me at the time, I was so crazy about paintball. My ass was back there playing the next event, and nothing ever got corrected. Just a little bit of disdain in my heart, just being like, this happens to people who've been playing for 1 year, and they don't know how to question it, and they get to the third person deep on the referee squad. It just rolled over, and they'll probably never come play paintball again, so lots of things that I've really
customer service at the end of the day, even in pro,
always,
it's not like the NBA where the league is paying the player, the league's paying the owners, and the owners paying the players. Like, you guys, even in pro, you guys are customers. If it's not you directly, it's Randy Smith or it's Bart or whatever. But at the end of the day, you guys are paying customers. So
yeah,
like you said, I know you said a players union and things like that. That kind of goes on to Kevin Donaldson, who runs Master Blasters or whatever. He was a part of it. I was a part of it or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
He was just talking about back in the day how they originally started the MPBL. Like, they literally went to a tournament and they all met in like a back room, and it was kind of like hush hush. He's like, I'm surprised nobody blew the fucking lid off this thing, because we had a meeting with like 12 owners of teams, and we were like, yo, we're starting the MPPL. We're telling the promoters, because he's like, we're telling the promoters it's going to be bring your own paint. This is how you need 8 judges per field. We want 8 games and blah blah blah. This was how the MPPL was started, because like back in the day they were saying like, yo, they were just getting bad events, and you know what I mean, they had to use certain paint, and the paint sucked and stuff like that. So he was even saying on a podcast he was doing that, that needs to happen again, but he called it a revolution. He made it seem like, like Civil War type of stuff and shit. So
yeah, I think people back in the day used to be
listen,
so
man,
much more
again,
vocal.
I'm not bashing the NXL, but
Oh, no. I mean, we're all glad it's around. It's something. I think that's how everybody feels. But there just needs to, like I always say, back in the day, men used to play paintball, like not like teenagers. Like, you had to have a career, you had to have money. There was a couple of younger kids throughout there, but it mainly started with freaking men, and men are going to be men. Adults are going to be adults. So when the paint's really cruddy, they're going to vocalize their opinion, and they're not going to be happy about it. I feel like so much more of that happened back in the day. And now,
people don't strong arm enough.
Yeah, exactly. Another one of the crazy things that happens at events that a lot of people don't realize is that as soon as they find the good batch of paint, all the professionals buy it. Yeah. And so then everybody else is shooting the not so good stuff. Or another example that I've seen out of that, not even in professional speedball, but I posted up a shared link of this field in Tennessee that's beautiful. It's brand new. Of course, it's stopped because of the coronavirus right now, but they're working hard. I don't know them at all, but I was just kind of taken away by the beauty of it. CEP is going to be practicing there next season, or this season, and
the farm, it's called.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they have and they might have multiple brands of paintballs, but I know that they are strong with ProShar, and that's a company I don't even know because I've been out of the game for a few years now, but I obviously know, what's what. And it's a big paint player right now. And dude, a lot of professional teams are shooting ProShar, and a lot of them are probably winning with like the best batches possible. So anyways, me being innocent, me trying to sit on the sidelines and just promote a page that I thought looked pretty cool, The Farm. They had a post that was like, we just got 4 skids or 3 skids of ProShar paintball, like come shoot it, like blah, 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 beautiful weather this weekend. So I shared it, and I just wrote something like, I don't know these guys, but it looks like a beautiful field. Like, if you're in the Tennessee area, go check them out. And a couple of my North Carolina friends who only play scenarios and big games shared it. And then their post that was shared with it was not near as positive. They like tagged a couple of people. They're like, essentially they're like, I want to touch this stuff with a 10-foot pole. And it's like, oh, I know why you guys feel that way, because the paint people will probably tell you that they're putting their best paint on the truck for these big games, but in reality, they're probably like throw whatever on there. And these people at these big games are going to pay 60, 70 bucks a case because it's their time to shell out. And how often do you hear of these big games? People be like, oh man, like the paint wasn't the best and it was all over the place. But, you know, I had a good time, camped out with my friends. It was amazing. And it's just like playing on the heartstrings. There's no one complaining. There's no group that's like, look, my team, this team, and that team will not be back next year because the paint sucked. You guys need to do something.
They're going to come back. They come back, and that's the problem. Yeah. But kind of going what you're saying about like scenarios and stuff like that. So I was always the guy back in the day ripping whatever big, because that's how I started. I would play big games, and I was the guy ripping the big games. I always would be like, because you get all the sponsor teams, whatever the paint company is, whatever it is, or whatever home field it is. Paint was 10 out of 10. Air was 10 out of 10. Parking was 10 out of 10. The roach coach that served the pizza was 10 out of 10. And I'd be like, were you guys at the same fucking game I was at? Like, here's a real review. Here's a real review about it. And kind of piggybacking off that. So, because one of my things was going to be, so you play big games a lot, or you play a couple here and there? I know you said you got a couple big game friends. That's how he started. Well, I'm doing the wrong way.
Yeah, that's why I started big games.
Yeah, same here, Travis and Waldo. I definitely love big games. They're so much fun. Like if you're listening to this and you've never played a big game before, there's always an opportunity to like find the 6th spot and get like 30, 40 kills out of it. It's awesome. It's unreal. Big games is its own beast. Tournaments in the woods is its own beast, and then speedball is its own beast as well. So I think that's why ICC, well, it's old school, so people love it. But I think that's why old school was so awesome, and that's why it's doing really great right now, is because, you know, you get the national travel vibe out of it. You get the beautiful woods, you get the hyperball, you get the mounds. And some people might not even argue that it's the best mounds field or the best woods field, but, you know, people love it. And big game is a totally different situation where you can just reinsert all day long and play as much paintball as you want or as little paintball as you want. So it caters to, I think, truly all types of paintball. The only thing that kind of bums me out about big game sometimes is like when I see like 100 people standing so far back.
Far away.
Yeah. And they're fully kitted, dude. And they're like, that's the type of person that's at the field when a kid comes brand new and they're like, he's a professional. And you're like, dude, that dude stands 2,000 yards back.
Yeah.
It never gets in the nitty gritty. But
best with the magazines and the fucking.
Or he's like, push, but he's like not doing anything. And like, for some reason, that kid will think like he's the man. And it's just like,
I hate those dudes. The dudes that are like, push. And like, bro, you can push. You could run. You don't have to be telling everyone to run. You can run.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I do that with you, though, that's okay, though, right? Because I know
that's right. Yeah. Because I know you'll back me up. Like I know if I push, you'll be right behind me. But I know if this dude who's pushing is just gonna go back to his workplace the day and be like, "Hell yeah, dude, I'm so badass." You know, like we crushed all these people, and it's like his coworkers have no clue that he did nothing all weekend.
I was general with 800-person army, bro.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I get like that, dude. I get like that. I do it all, man. I can LARP and dance around trees, or I'll go shoot people, but I'll do it all, man. I love a good big game once in a while. But that's sounds like you do too, man. I just like.
I love any paintball.
Yeah.
I love any paintball. My when we were growing up, me and my pal Tommy Houston, and don't let me forget, I got a couple shouts out that I want to make sure my friends hear. But my pal Tommy Houston, one of the pals that I played in the woods growing up before I ever went to a field, he still plays this day, not nearly as heavy as we even do now, which might be slower than we were in our heyday. But me and him invented this thing called Renegade Ball, which essentially is just you go in like regular athletic shorts and a t-shirt and you put a backpack on. And in the backpack is all of your paintball gear, like paint, everything, mask, tank, gun, everything. And we would go run off like a wooded trail or like a public park that was big enough. And at a certain point, we'd come off the trail and we would run into the woods like a good 1.5 miles. So that way we would find an untouched spot of woods and we'd be able to play one-on-one in it just to like try like be somewhere new, be like no one's played paintball here before, and we always thought that was really fun too. So yeah, I love playing paintball anywhere. Obviously I spent the majority of my time doing the whole tournament scene and trying to be athletic as best as possible, but anything literally. Every once in a while I'll crack open a drink and just shoot my gun at the end of a dead end street just to kind of reminisce and everything. But I love it. I love it all. I truly do care for the game. I don't play anymore, so it's kind of like this weird situation that I'm in. I don't know if I'll ever play like I used to. I might coach a team in the future. There's a couple of local teams near me, but it's like a 3 or 4 hour drive to them. And I'm just, especially with a brand newborn, it's just not in my bag to do that right now.
Right.
But I love paintball. I really do. It's my first love. It's what led me to Nashville. It's what led me to my wife. It's what led me to right here. Because I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys. I wouldn't know you guys if it weren't for this game. And you hear a lot of people say that. And I think that's another one of the equations that make people love paintball so much, is that you meet so many friends, create relationships, have good laughs, have cries, have heartbreak, have trials and tribulations. You grow from it. Sometimes it knocks you down a step or two. But it gives you the opportunity to like feel life in a certain way. So that's why, I initially fell in love with it and did it for so long. And I pushed so hard, and I'm still so grateful. Anytime things are going crazy here in Alabama, I'm like, dang, what if I didn't play paintball and I had a bachelor's degree? I could find a even better paying job right now. And especially being a father, that's one of the things that's on the forefront of my mind, is just I want to provide as best as possible. But I have to kind of check myself into reality and just say, if I didn't do all that, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have a kid. I wouldn't have my amazing wife. I wouldn't have a bunch of my friends. I wouldn't maybe have the mentality I have right now about life. So it's an amazing game. And, I know you guys love it too, but if anyone's made it through this hour and some change podcast, my one takeaway for anybody would be is that whether it's paintball or not, do what you love. And you can regret things, but you also got to kind of look at it too and be thankful for the position that it put you in and what opportunities and what, lessons you learned from it. And it happens all across the board: sports, work, relationships. So I'm a pretty positive person, and, I'm not positive all the time. There's definitely times that get away from me, but something that you're passionate about, you should dive into it and see what comes out on the other end. And, that's what I did. And I'm so thankful. And, sure, at other times I wish things were different. I wish I was still playing paintball. I wish I got a college education and was able to play paintball. But, that's just my cup of tea. That's just my individual life. So I just encourage people to go for it, not really wonder if they should have done something, as freaking cliche as that sounds, but it's the truth. Especially because you never know what could happen. You never know if you're going to live tomorrow, or slip and fall on your head and be a vegetable, or get in a car crash and pass away. It's important to do what you can and just kind of keep your chin up and go. So that would be definitely the message I'd like to portray if anyone is hearing this. I hope that it encourages someone to keep going, or to show up at work the next day, or to talk to someone if they're not feeling the best mentally, or, just play paintball, if that's what they're about. So, yeah.
Dude, I couldn't have said it better myself, man. And I feel like this is like, we're going to talk some more. I hope you go to ICC, man. And if not,
Me
ICC,
too.
I'll catch you at something, man, because we'll have to do another recap, because that was a great way to end it. I know you wanted me to, definitely we'll stay on a little bit after this. I know you got a newborn,
Sure.
but definitely shout out to anybody, we'll wrap up the thing.
Cool.
Shout out everybody that you want to shout out.
All right.
I know you don't play anymore, so maybe not sponsors, but whoever you want to shout out, definitely give them.
Sure. Well, definitely gonna have to give a shout out to one sponsor because it was the people that helped me play professional. Die Paintball was always really great. They were really fun to work with too. Chris Williamson, who I think is running the ship for the most part right now, is a great person. He's awesome. But who I really wanted to shout out was, you know, all of my guys off CEP that I ever played with. I couldn't have, like I said, trickled my way through life without them being on the start station and at the practices with me. My brother, my first teammate in paintball, Jacob Butts. He's amazing. Have so many good memories with him. Couldn't be more thankful for that. My dad, Jim Butts, who got me into paintball, gave me the opportunity, bought my first paintball gun. And then kind of getting out of the deeper shouts out. Just want to give a heads up and say thank you to my friends. Flip Wilson is a really good friend that I played rec ball with, big games with, tournaments with. He's a wonderful person. He's a great ambassador for the sport in North Carolina and everywhere he goes. He really has a great attitude and welcomes people and loans his gun out. I think a lot of people should be like Flip. And I have a bunch of friends from North Carolina that were on the Charlotte Bloodhounds. Brian Besterman is one of my best friends. He's a great guy. He still plays paintball often. And then to wrap it up, just I'm thankful for literally everybody, as ridiculous as that sounds. We all have a moving piece in this large puzzle, and nothing would be available to do without other people. I think that's why everyone's going so crazy with coronavirus right now. It's a little bit more alone feeling. But just everybody that I've ever played against, anybody that's taught me anything, just so thankful for all the people. So if I didn't name you off by name, know that you're in my heart and that I appreciate you and that I reminisce quite often and think about the fun times. And paintball's been awesome to me in my life, and I couldn't be more thankful just in general for the sport. So it's been wonderful being on here with you guys. So thanks, Waldo, and thanks, Travis, for asking me to be part of the show. I think what you guys are doing is great, and I think right now more than ever is a good reason for someone to listen to a paintball podcast. So I wish you guys the best of success, and I really do appreciate you guys having me on the show for sure.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. It was nice. Like, I met you through this. I didn't know you before this, so this is definitely really cool.
Yeah.
And I definitely hope we can have you back on later. Like I said, maybe hopefully after some paintball has been played and we have some more stuff to talk about.
Anytime.
Yeah, before we get out of here, I want to encourage everyone to subscribe, rate, and review to the show. We are on podcasts. This is gonna be on YouTube too. So yeah. And take it easy, guys. We'll see you soon.
Sounds good. Have a good day, y'all. Thanks.